Reese's and Pieces, Maidenslave here. Today I'm going to be talking about A Matter of Life and Death by Iron Maiden. I think the sound on this album was not good, and this was really the first time when Iron Maiden started not sounding good. Because they sound very loose, and they have this problem even today, even with the last album. I'll go ahead and even make that argument where they got better with it, but they try to do a live thing where basically they don't do a lot of overdubs, which means a lot of it sounds way too loose. It sounds like pretty much all the time tons of guitars are playing, tons of acoustic guitars are playing, and Bruce's vocals are just not that great because they don't overdub things, they don't fix things. But for the most part on this album, it does get saved by the very fact that the music is actually very, very good. The album starts off with Different World, which once again is a very, very weak song. I always skip these intros now because they're not good, you know. And with the older Iron Maiden albums, you had like Aces High and Moonchild and these songs that were, yes, they were short, but they were very, very good and very, very strong. You know, I think that you should have a very strong song, even if it's a short song. Then we go into These Colors Don't Run and Brighter Than a Thousand Suns, which are both very, very strong songs, and they both have their little slow intros, but they're not too long. They pretty much get into it almost right away. And yes, they definitely suffer from a little bit too much repetition, especially Brighter Than a Thousand Suns, but I think that the things that are being repeated are actually pretty good. They make sense, they work with the lyrics, they work with the music, it all works out. They have very good little musical midsections and solos and stuff like that, especially Brighter Than a Thousand Suns, which is almost around 8, maybe 9 minutes, which really goes off into some really cool melodic stuff. The Pilgrim is kind of interesting. For the most part, it's one of the weaker tracks. It's okay once it kind of gets into it, and it's short, so it's definitely not a pain to listen to, but to be honest, it's one of the more forgettable songs on the album. The Longest Day was my favorite song on this album for a very long time. This has got to be one of the best intros that this band has ever done, and one of the intros that just makes the most sense because you actually feel it building, and it's about pretty much D-Day and World War II, which if you're not familiar with that, then you're either very young or very stupid. And I think that musically they do a great job as far as the lyrics go, as far as the vibe that they're setting up, and the drum fills by Nico absolutely make this whole intro with the whole kind of rocks falling and everything, and him going down the toms, and it just does a really, really good job. And once it comes in, the whole intro actually makes sense. It feels like it was going somewhere. So that's very important. And the music itself, once it gets into it, is very good. It's one of the better progressive moments that Iron Maiden has done. I really don't have any interest for Out of the Shadows. This song is just not very memorable to me. It's one of those songs that's pretty much just the chorus all the way through, and it is ruined by that fact. Reincarnation of Benjamin Brigg is probably the song on this album that is kind of similar to maybe like Passchendaele and Blood Brothers before it, because there is no Iron Maiden song before and since then that sounds pretty much anything like this song. It's a very unique sounding song, and it is, in my opinion, probably the best, most original written song on the album, coming from mainly Steve Harris and Dave Murray, which is really cool. Definitely one of Murray's strongest songs to bring to Steve. And it is one of the best, again, one of the best intros that makes sense, that feels right. Bruce actually does a very, very good job with the opening verses. It's kind of creepy, and then once it gets going, it feels like one of the most original, authentic, progressive moments that has come from this band during, since Brave New World. So overall, it's just a treat to listen to. There's so many weird little twists and turns in there that you would not expect from Iron Maiden. For the Greater Good of God is, I believe, the first Steve Harris epic since Klansman. Some people would argue Blood Brothers. It is not that good. I don't like it. I just don't like it. It has too many chorus repeats in it, and it has two different choruses in there, so you get both of them way too much. I think the musical section is not nearly good or long enough for how long and epic the song is, or is supposed to be. And yeah, that's pretty much it. It is very much destroyed by choruses, like a lot of modern Harris epics are. Lord of Light is my favorite song on this entire album. It's written by Adrian Smith, mainly, Steve Harris, of course, and I believe Bruce. Musically, to be quite honest, it's not that original. It's a very kind of generic, kind of slow intro with a chord progression, and then it ends up going into a riff. But lyrically, this song is fantastic, and that's pretty rare when it comes from Iron Maiden. And also the vocal performance delivered by Bruce is awesome. Basically, it's being told from the point of view of Lucifer, the Lord of Light. And Bruce, man, oh man, during the slow parts, in the beginning, definitely in the middle, oh man, I get chills every time I listen to it. Even to this day, I get chills. He does such a good job, like he kind of did with Reincarnation, doing the kind of higher pitched, kind of creepy sounding vocals. I mean, it's just absolutely phenomenal, and it's very original. The album ends with The Legacy, which I don't like. It's, I believe, Yannick Gers and Steve Harris epic, and I hate the way it starts. I don't like any of the acoustic parts in the intro. Even when the song picks up and starts going, it sounds very much like a modern epic from Iron Maiden, which means that it sounds very unorganic, very pieced together, and the music that they actually Frankenstein together is not very good, in my opinion. I mean, if you listen through it, it's not going to destroy your ears or anything. It's not insultingly bad, but there's really nothing that's going on in this track that would keep me around for however long it is, 9 or 10 minutes. It's just not a strong, long song from this band, and to me it's another bad way to end an Iron Maiden album. I think it should have ended with Lord of Light, or even For the Greater Good of God. So overall, even though I do think that Almond is one of the better, if not probably the best as far as songs go, modern Iron Maiden album, especially for the last three, I think that it still has its weaknesses. It still has filler, it still has bad songs, it still has bad performances, but it is saved by the majority of the music being pretty damn strong. So I'm going to give Almond 7.5 out of 10, and I'll see you guys later.